So, right then, we are back on the boat, radio controlled boat, a hydroplane. So as you saw from the sketch, it's going to be a pretty basic little design. The idea is to do this for nothing. I already know there's a few little bits and pieces I need to get, but I'm hoping to complete the little boat thing for under £20 all in. And the only way I can really do that is it so happens I happen to have, which is kind of a little bit where the idea came from, some bits and pieces knocking about that would ordinarily actually cost money. One of the most interesting things I have, and probably the thing that sort of triggered me to do this now, is I suddenly came across a glow fuel engine, or nitro as they call them now I think, engine out of a car that I built probably around about 1981, 1980 maybe, I don't know, somewhere around that time frame, I can't remember exactly. It was called a Mardev Marauder, and the engine that was in that was an OS Max 0.21 or a 3.5cc little glow fuel engine. Somewhere along the line, I don't know what happened to the car, I don't know what happened to any of it, really have no idea. I was only about 11 or 12 at the time. But about 10 or 15 years ago, my brother suddenly turned up with the actual engine. I don't know where he had it, but anyway, he said, I think that's yours. So I grabbed it, it's got stuck in a box, and recently I sort of discovered it in the box. And so this is what that looks like. So yeah, it's in it's in pretty good condition really. It is a little bit seized up, but then I would imagine the last time this actually run was probably around about 1982, 1983. It didn't run that many times, so it should be in fairly good condition as long as the bearings are salvageable. Everything else should really clean up. I can't imagine there's too much going on with it. So yeah, this should do the job, although it's a car engine, possibly introduce some issues to do with propeller speed. Yeah, well, we'll get to that later, but nothing we can't really deal with. So the main thing really is to see if we can get this thing working, because obviously this is a fairly important part, and if it doesn't work it scuppers the whole plan, because there's no way I am buying an engine just for this little laugh project. So let's have a little go at stripping it down. Okay, so I've stripped down the engine as much as I'm going to for a minute. I'm just going to have a little look at some of the parts and make sure that they are going to be, basically okay. So what we got here is the cylinder liner. It's in pretty good, in fact it's in really good shape. I don't think this engine was actually used that much. There's no scoring in there, it's as smooth as you like. Yeah, probably just a little bit of a clean up with some solvents and stuff. Yeah, won't even need to polish that, that's absolutely fine. So this is the back of the crankcase. This is possibly a little bit of an issue because it does have a gasket on here. I believe these things need to be airtight in order for them to work. The chances of me actually being able to find a gasket for what is in fact a 37-year-old engine, yeah, I doubt that. So we'll probably have to make a little gasket for that. So this is the, well, I guess you call it head or heatsink. Again, all looks dandy, but yeah, that all looks fine. Carburetor, well, we'll break that down and have a separate look at all those little bits. And then we've got the actual crankcase itself. I've taken the piston out and the conrod and soaking them in oil, but they actually looked just fine as well. After a little bit of soaking and cranking, this now sort of turns over, and You can hear it, it ain't exactly beautiful, but actually you know, it looks fine. The bearings are just a little bit corroded in there, so we'll try and whip those out. I would imagine that that's just sort of surface gunk. I don't think there's anything really wrong with them, so hopefully we can give them a good clean, give them a good oil, and we'll see how that spins around afterwards. I mean, there's no play in there whatsoever. The little journal on the bottom end, and get a magnifying glass. That looks alright to me. So the next job really is probably to try and get the crank out, and then maybe, I guess we'll probably have to take the bearings out as well. Give this all a good clean up. Yeah, put it back together, and yeah, have a look at the carb next, I think. So yeah, I'm going to give things a bit of a clean up on the old crankcase head and all that kind of stuff, the piston, get all that sorted, put it back together, and then we need to have a good little look at the carb, strip this down completely, and clean it all, put it back together, and then we should be in a position to see if the 37-year-old Glow Fuel engine starts. So until then.